Red Bull have revealed the 2026 livery for their RB22 at their launch event out in Detroit, Michigan, with their new engine suppliers in Ford. And to say the least, the livery is spectacular. Now, what is interesting aside from that is we didn't just get one Red Bull render or look at a 2026 version of a Formula One car, but interestingly two. We had the car they actually had at the event in Detroit, and then we had the renders which they released simultaneously online to social media, and they are drastically different across numerous areas. And even more interestingly than that, it seems this is their own design on the renders the FIA recently released and published. Now, here are the areas of interest which have been subtly changed or are somewhat different from anything we've seen thus far from any previous renders. It is a difference in the front wing, the sidepods, the bargeboard section, and of course the floor areas. Now, aside from all of that, Red Bull have left some of the key development areas off of their car, which is to be expected. And we won't see this until the first test out in Bahrain, because of course the private preseason test in Barcelona is the first event, and it's going to be extremely difficult to get any sort of images from that. So with that being said, let's go over the renders which were released online and compare them to the FIA's official release a month ago now. And we will start at the front of the car with the front wing. Now, what initially struck me is of course the differences between the two, but more interestingly than that is it reminded me of a certain era of Formula One front wing, and that is the 2008 era of Formula One. Very interesting to see some of the kind of shapes around the edges of the front wing, the actual end plates as well. It just felt like a throwback to that design. Whether that was intentional, as of course this is just a render, who really knows. But outside of that, you can see there are subtle differences as well between the Red Bull render and that of the FIA one. There is far more complexity to the geometrical shapes across the board from all areas of the Red Bull version. For example, when talking about the end plates, the prototype uses a vertical and simple end plate design on the FIA renders, whereas this Red Bull deploys multi-elements with highly curved outwash end plates, which of course are designed to direct the airflow outwards. Now, before we go any further on with the breakdown of these renders from Red Bull, I have a new channel, F1 Tech Unraveled, which is where this video is sitting. Now, if you haven't already and you want to keep on top of what I'm releasing, that is the channel to go to. There'll be a link in the description and a pinned comment in this video. Next up, we have the bargeboard and sidepod area of the Red Bull renders to go over. And again, very small subtle differences between the FIA renders and what Red Bull have done, which are highlighted on screen right now. For the kind of what I like to call bargeboard region, which of course is just essentially a huge glorified flow conditioner to make sure the air is going away from the car, it is essentially a very small alteration, a few more slits into that area to kind of make more airflow structures in and around. But the area of interest for me, which took my fancy, was that of the sidepod. A design somewhat similar to a few areas. We have the natural overbite from the previous generation of Formula One cars from the ground effect era. But the thing that struck me the most about the sidepod was how fake it actually looks, particularly when you compare it to the actual real renders of the Racing Bull car for 2026, because that actual car is the real version they will be racing with. The sidepod is actually much larger on that than on this Red Bull one, and therefore this is just total rubbish fabrication just for the sake of having it on the render. Another way you can tell the V-Carb Racing Bull is real is because of the complexity of the front ring. It has all the actuators on there. Everything is on it as it should be. So yeah, as I've been saying, take everything you see with this Red Bull car with a pinch of salt. Nothing we see and nothing I'm discussing is actually going to be on the car for the first test. But again, at the end of the day, these are very generic shapes and geometrical surfaces that we're seeing. I would be absolutely shocked and surprised if we saw anything like these renders actually on the official Red Bull RB22 in pre-season testing. Another interesting aspect is to look from the top downwards. And you can see in the Coke bottle region, they've been far more aggressive in this area. Again, from the official FIA renders, and of course we also have the Racing Bull render from the event as well, because it was a joint launch with their sister team. They've been far more aggressive in the Coke bottle region, far more tight in that area than the Racing Bull team. And as I mentioned, the floor strokes on the RB22 render is somewhat different from the ones we've seen previously. Again, don't take too much into what you see here. It is just very much a simplistic approach they've taken. I would not expect to see anything on these renders come the real car, but still interesting to note some of the choices they chose to showcase in these renders to give us an indication of some things we could maybe expect out of the RB22 and this overall generation of Formula 1 cars. So all in all, still a very basic, if a very nice reveal from Red Bull in terms of renders and the show car they had at the launch event. As I've been saying throughout this video, do not expect to see anything like what you've seen in these renders be on the real car when it goes testing and we see it for the first time, more than likely in Bahrain. This is what I perceive and I'm confident in stating is a show car, a showcasing of what the regulations could look like. No team is going to give you any levels of detail with regards to what their actual car is going to look like from an aerodynamics perspective, a suspension perspective, and all of the hidden secrets that they may have found in terms of loopholes within these regulations. And from what we've heard, there does seem to be aspects which have major regulation loopholes for teams to explore and to innovate within. But again, it is nice to see a different design on a render than what we've had in terms of from the FIA and the other people that do renders. The event overall was a nice one as well. Anyway guys, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Hope you've all enjoyed it. If you have, leave a like on this video. Subscribe to my new channel, F1 Tech Unraveled, for all future content. And I will see you across this launch livery season and of course pre-season testing. Catch you later.